Happening now, a consequential week for former President Donald Trump and the country. Trump is getting ready to head to New York, where he will appear in a courtroom tomorrow on criminal charges. We have the latest on the final preparations and how New York City is bracing for this historic court hearing.
And new this morning, potentially even more legal trouble for Trump. We have the latest on a new report that may point to evidence of possible obstruction in the investigation of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago.
Also new this morning, NBC News has learned the Chinese spy balloon that flew across the U.S. was able to gather intelligence from several military sites. What we know this morning about the information that may now be in the hands of Chinese officials.
And happening now, the price of oil surging this morning to its biggest daily rise in nearly a year. All of this after major production cuts to oil production. We'll have more on this breakdown of what this could mean for gas prices and the fight against inflation.
Thanks for starting your day with us this morning. I'm Zinclair Samoa.
And I'm Stephen Romo. Joe and Savannah are on assignment this morning. We do want to begin this hour with the latest on the indictment of former President Trump. Today at noon, the former president is set to fly from his South Florida estate, Mar-a-Lago, to his home in New York. He says he'll stay overnight at Trump Tower before making his way to a lower Manhattan courthouse for his historic arraignment tomorrow. The legal fight comes as Mr. Trump makes his third run for the White House. His campaign says they've already raised more than $5 million since he was indicted last Thursday. We have full coverage this morning. In just a moment, we'll speak with NBC News legal analyst Glenn Kirschner. But we begin with NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard near Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Vaughn, thanks for being with us this morning. So the former president, no doubt, gearing up for a battle here. Take us through the timeline here. What are we expecting over these next 2 days?
Right, Stephen. In just a couple hours here, we are expecting Donald Trump, via his motorcade, to leave his Mar-a-Lago compound. He's going to take that motorcade down the road, about 8-9 minutes, to Palm Beach International Airport. At that point, he will board his Trump-branded plane and he will fly to New York City. The timing is all a little bit fluid here, but sometime midday, we expect that to take place. Once he gets to New York City, he'll be staying overnight in Trump Tower, his old New York residence. And then on Tuesday, tomorrow, he will take a 4-hour south, a 4-mile south detour down to Lower Manhattan, the criminal courthouse, where he will have his initial arraignment. And it's important to note that at this point in time, that indictment is still sealed, meaning it's secret. We do not know the specific charges against him. Donald Trump doesn't even know. But at that arraignment is when the judge will read those charges to him, and his legal fate will, in terms of when his trial and potentially even a next appearance is scheduled, will become much more evident.
And Vaughn, Trump, not unsurprisingly, it's not surprising that he's lashed out after this indictment. He's not staying silent. He's blasted District Attorney Alvin Bragg, as well as the judge presiding over this case, and he's calling for the trial to be moved out of Manhattan. So that's what he's saying on social media. But are we actually expecting to see those attacks, those arguments come up in court?
Right, and Donald Trump, we should note, has already scheduled primetime remarks for tomorrow night here at Mar-a-Lago. When he does return, we can expect him to continue to try to undercut not only the investigation, but now the criminal proceedings against him. He has suggested that he wants this moved in a social media post overnight. Joe Tacopina, one of his lawyers in this case, says that they have had no internal conversations to that effect at this point. They're looking at their options. He also called for the removal of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. To note, that would not be possible without formal actions being taken by the governor of New York, who is a sitting Democrat. There's no reason to believe that would take place. Donald Trump also suggested that the judge overseeing his case is, quote, Trump-hating. There is no evidence of that, and this is the judge who will be overseeing this case. Of course, for Donald Trump, he is not naive to the fact that just a couple months ago, this same judge oversaw a plea agreement which led to a 5-month sentence of his former Trump organization CFO, Alan Weisselberg, who was sentenced as part of a tax fraud scheme in relationship to his work with the Trump organization. He was sentenced to 5 months at Rikers.
So hard to tell sometimes what will make it from social media to the real world. All right, Vaughn Hilliard, thank you.
Now let's bring in NBC News legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirschner. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So what can we expect to see tomorrow when Trump arrives in New York? Is bail an option here?
Well, you know, Zinclair, I'm quite sure he will be released pending his next status hearing in the case. And I think the most interesting topic of conversation will be what kind of conditions might the judge set. I think an outlier of a condition would be travel restrictions. Perhaps he would be prohibited from leaving the United States. Maybe he would have to surrender his passport. But I think what we're most likely to see is a discussion about whether the judge should limit his speech in some way, either his posts on social media or speeches he might give during, a campaign rally, for example, because we have already seen how Donald Trump has been throwing these disinformation bombs into the public square, hoping they will explode and potentially poison the jury pool, among others. When we see him post things like the Judge Marchand, hates me, well, that's juvenile and very likely untrue. He also said that Alvin Bragg handpicked the judge. That is fully untrue, because that's not the way judicial assignments to cases work. And then he said what is perhaps most damaging of all, he said Judge Marchand railroaded Alan Weisselberg, his former chief financial officer, into pleading guilty by basically coercing him or threatening him. These are the kind of things that are corrosive to the criminal justice system and to the people's right to a fair trial. We all know a defendant has a right to a fair trial, but the people of New York also have a right to a fair trial. So I'll be watching to see what the judge might do by way of putting a modified gag order on Donald Trump.
And Glenn, you hit on the gag order, right? The potential for a modified gag order, given how many comments we've heard from President Trump. So I want to talk about how the legal team, Trump's legal team, has been preparing to mount their defense. We heard from attorney Joe Tacopino, and he said this over the weekend. Let's first take a listen, and we'll talk on the other side.
We will take the indictment. We will dissect it. The team will look at every potential issue that we will be able to challenge, and we will challenge. And of course, I very much anticipate a motion to dismiss coming, because there's no law that fits this.
We've just got seconds here, Glenn. So what do you expect the defense's strategy to be in this case? Is a dismissal possible?
I think a dismissal is all but impossible. And Zinclay, in 30 years as a prosecutor and having handled hundreds and hundreds of arraignment hearings, I've never once heard a motion to dismiss an indictment lodged at an arraignment hearing. Doesn't mean Joe Tacopino won't do it. Moving forward, he can make his motions to dismiss the indictment or certain counts of the indictment, and I'm quite sure that matter will be litigated and resolved properly by Judge Marchand.
We'll be watching closely. Glenn Kirschner, thank you so much.
Well, while the former president prepares to appear in court, he's doing so in the backdrop of even more legal challenges. NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney has that story.
Good morning. The Washington Post is reporting that the Justice Department and the FBI have amassed new evidence suggesting President Trump may have tried to obstruct justice after the Justice Department issued a subpoena demanding that he return all the classified documents that were kept at his compound at Mar-a-Lago. Now, NBC News has not confirmed this reporting, and the Justice Department has declined to comment. The Post is saying, though, that the FBI and Special Counsel Jack Smith have new evidence that after that subpoena was issued demanding the documents, Trump asked that they be moved, some of them, from a storage facility at Mar-a-Lago, and that he actually went through some of them, which would be significant evidence suggesting that he knew there were classified documents after a subpoena had been issued. If you recall, his lawyers executed a document telling the Justice Department that all the classified documents had been retrieved, there were none left, and then 3 months later, the FBI conducted a search and found more than 100 classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. To the extent to which there's evidence that Donald Trump obstructed justice, that is significant because it makes this Mar-a-Lago documents case much different than the other classified documents investigations going on right now involving President Joe Biden and former Vice President Mike Pence, both of whom found classified documents at their residence and said it was totally inadvertent. They were unaware they were there. What this story says is that Trump knew the documents were there even after a grand jury subpoena was issued demanding that they be returned. The story also says that there's some new evidence from an assistant to President Trump whose emails and texts have been obtained by the FBI that create a picture of Trump's movements at Mar-a-Lago that fill in the picture about what he was doing and saying and thinking. The story says that the FBI has also developed evidence that Trump, before the grand jury subpoena was issued, was instructing aides to mislead the National Archives about the nature of the classified documents. So a big development here, once again unconfirmed by NBC News, but important reporting by the Washington Post that appears to move this Mar-a-Lago story forward and suggests that this investigation into classified documents at the former president's residence is really picking up steam. Back to you.
Developments coming fast. Ken, thank you.
Now to the aftermath of those deadly storms that ripped across the country over the weekend. This morning, states from the south and northeast are in early stages of cleanup after more than 50 confirmed tornadoes touched down in 14 states, killing at least 32 people. In Tennessee, 15 people are dead after an F2 tornado hit 4 counties there.
The bed was jumping up and down, and the noise was just like a train. It was unbelievable, and the wind, pelting.
And in Illinois, a tornado hit during a concert, causing a deadly roof collapse at a theater. Concert goers scrambled to help others who were trapped. Arkansas was one of the states that felt the brunt of the storm. Officials there say 5 people are dead after an F3 tornado destroyed thousands of homes and buildings. Michelle Grossman has the latest forecast for us this morning. And we're also talking to an emergency official out of Arkansas about the recovery efforts there. We'll get to them in just a moment. But first, let's get to Emily Aketa. She's in Arkansas with the latest there. Emily, good to see you. So the town of Wynne was devastated by this storm system. What exactly are you seeing there?
Hey there, Zinclay. Well, you can see scenes of devastation like this all across the city of Wynne. And, ahead of the storms this weekend, forecasters have warned this would be a town-altering storm. And this is what they meant. I actually spoke with residents when they emerged from their homes after the tornado swept through here. They actually told me they had a hard time finding their way around the town because it's just absolutely unrecognizable. You can see the force of the storm that pushed through here in the size of the trees that were toppled. I'm going to walk up these steps here, this entryway to a home that has been completely reduced to rubble, Zinclay. Schools in Wynne have been canceled at least through this week because the nearby school, the high school just a couple of blocks away, among the hardest hit in this city. Zinclay?
Emily, the devastation's so clear, and I want to acknowledge your signals coming in and out, but we're still hearing you. Understandable given the extent of the storm. I know you got a chance to talk to people there as they assess the damage and begin the long cleanup process. What exactly did they tell you, Emily?
Zinclay, we're hearing really stories of determination, but also remarkable stories of survival. I'm going to walk you over here because I talked to a woman who lives across the street. She lived in this house. She was home at the time of this EF3 tornado that swept over. She was with her partner inside the home. Her home now, those walls completely blew out. And, you look at that home, and yet she still tells me she feels lucky, considering the fact that she was able to walk away with her life and a few of her belongings inside. You can see all around me. It's going to be a lengthy road to recovery, but so many communities across the country getting that process getting underway this morning. Zinclay?
Emily, for those affected, like that woman you're talking about, lost everything, what resources are available to them?
Well, this week, President Biden signed a major disaster declaration. And so we are seeing funds funnel in from all levels of the government. There are donation collections going on, shelters available, restaurants and businesses offering their help where they can. But I also really want to point out that one of the things that really struck me is just simply the number of volunteers we have seen across the state of Arkansas coming here, donating their time and energy to communities in desperate need.
A resilient community and clearly rallying together. Emily, thank you so much.
Now let's get to Madeline Roberts, Director of Communications for Pulaski County Office of Emergency Management there in Arkansas. Madeline, good morning. Thanks for joining us in the middle of what is such a difficult time. If you would, describe for us the damage you've seen out surveying the area.
Well, whenever we were able to get out from the storms on Friday, there were down power lines, blocked roads, significant structural damage. We're still trying to get the number of structures that have been destroyed. Right now, we still have a lot of places without power because of the down power lines, and that means that roads are still blocked because we have to get the power lines out of the way before we can clear the roads.
Yeah, a big task there. We know there's so much damage to different places in your area, particularly Little Rock, North Little Rock as well. So what is your main priority this morning as recovery is just now getting underway?
So in situations like this, the first priority is search and rescue, which we've done, and we're fortunate that there's no missing persons at this time. Second priority is utilities, which that's now the top priority, and that's what we're currently working on. It's getting people their utilities back, water, electricity. And followed by that, will be property conservation and cleanup, which that's probably what we're going to start working on today, coming up with a plan for debris collection and working with the working with the municipalities on their cleanup plans.
Yeah, so many different groups, municipalities to coordinate here. From people living in your area, what are you hearing from them? What are their greatest needs right now?
Right now, some of us still just need power. I actually personally got my power back yesterday. People are needing food, water, shelter, tarps as well. That was the big concern yesterday. We had storms rolling in again last night, and we're expected to have storms again tomorrow. And so people still needed tarps to cover up their houses from the incoming weather.
And obviously, this is going to be a long road of recovery. We're talking months, if not years, to try to get things back to normal. Walk us through what is that going to look like for your county?
Oh, man. Well, the next step right now is finding housing for everyone that was displaced. We are working with FEMA, and we should have a plan for that coming out soon. I know that there's some phone numbers that our residents can contact. That's where we are right now, is first just taking care of our people and then going from there.
That makes sense. Tons of immediate needs to take care of before making more long-term plans. All right, Madeline Roberts, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now let's bring back meteorologist Michelle Grossman as we keep track of a major storm system developing over the Northwest.
Yeah, a lot going on. Michelle, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you both. And it does feel like we're stuck on repeat. We had 2 weekends in a row with deadly tornadoes, and we're looking at the possibility of really strong tornadoes once again tomorrow. We have a tornado risk this morning, but that's a separate system. I'll explain that in just a minute. But we're watching a powerful storm system taking hold in the west. It's going to eject into the plains tomorrow, kind of use the fuel from the Gulf to produce some severe weather later on Tuesday into Tuesday night. So this is what it looks like. Winter weather alerts for 7 million. That is in the white. Fire alerts, because we're going to see winds really gusting today, tomorrow into Wednesday. The ground is really dry in the southwest, so 11 million at risk for fire danger. And wind alerts, we're looking at 39 million. That's where you see the blue. And again, when we see the snow on Tuesday and Wednesday in the northern plains, we add in the wind. We're going to have blizzard-like conditions. So we have an area of low pressure. It's developing over the Rockies. It's going to bring snow 1 to 2 feet in some spots by Wednesday, in the Dakotas, even up to 3 feet in some spots. So western third of the country stays snowy. It stays windy. And then by tomorrow, that's where we're going to see the severe risk really blossom once again from Texas to Michigan. So a lot of the same spots that saw the severe weather over the weekend. We'll see more storms later on Tuesday. They're going to be strong. They're going to be long tracking, and they're going to be nighttime tornadoes possible. Blizzard-like conditions in the northern plains with the winds really howling. It's going to create very dangerous travel, if not impossible travel. So this is what it looks like today in terms of the severe threat. This is a totally separate system. We have a severe threat throughout the Gulf Coast into the southeast, winds gusting over 60 miles per hour, a few possible tornadoes, also some hail. Where you see the yellow, that includes Mobile over to Tallahassee. That's where the likeliest spots for storms are. We've seen storms already today, and we're watching the threat for tornadoes as we go throughout today. Then tomorrow, we're looking at 34 million at risk. Where you see that red, portions of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, that is a moderate risk. That's where we're likeliest to see the strongest tornadoes, the long tracking tornadoes once again. But where we see orange and yellow, that includes the Midwest down to portions of the Tennessee Valley into portions of the south as well. We're looking at the chance for some really strong storms. And we could see EF2 or greater in terms of the strength. Wednesday, we're going to see that threat for 32 million. That is now into the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley. And guys, we could see some really gusty winds, some heavy rain producing some flooding, and then on the backside, we're looking at that very heavy snow. Back to you.
34 million at risk. We're hoping they stay safe. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
Well, this morning we're watching oil prices, which have jumped the most in nearly a year overnight. That's after the OPEC Plus group of oil-producing nations announced a surprise output cut of more than 1 million barrels per day. Here to help us understand what this means for you is Investopedia's editor-in-chief, Caleb Silver. Caleb, thanks for being here. So first off, tell us the why of this. Why did OPEC Plus announce its production cut yesterday, and what are you watching for today?
Yeah, OPEC Plus, which is the allies around OPEC, and the United States is not a member of OPEC nor OPEC Plus, decided as a preemptive move to cut production. What does that do? That eventually raises prices. Prices for oil around $80 a barrel right now, way down from where they were last summer. But OPEC and OPEC Plus and all the countries that produce oil in that region would like to see oil around $90 a barrel. So this is a move to sustain the price and actually lift it, because the higher the price, the more profits that go to those countries and the oil companies within them.
So, Caleb, the Biden administration has criticized this move. A spokesperson for the National Security Council said they don't think the cuts are advisable. What kind of effect could this have for Americans?
Yeah, well, we'll feel it in gas prices, and gas prices get more expensive the closer we get to spring and summer because we use a more expensive blend. So you can already expect prices to go higher as we move closer to the summer, but this should raise prices again because 60% of a cost of a gallon of gas is the price of oil. So if oil goes up to $90 a barrel, some are saying even $100 a barrel, you'll feel it at the gas tank. But this is sort of a finger in the eye to the United States, which is not a member of OPEC or OPEC Plus. Saudi Arabia leading these cuts with 500,000 barrels a day starting in May, and Russia saying it's going to extend cuts that it put in place all the way through the rest of this year. So we're going to take a lot of supply, about 3% off of global oil production. You'll feel it eventually downstream here at the gas pump.
Does not sound great. All this, of course, not happening in a vacuum. What about the Fed? Does this make its job more complicated as it continues to try to fight inflation?
Yeah, you could see this slowing growth, but this could also have demand destruction where if gas prices get high like they did last summer, people just stop filling up all the way. But the Fed is concentrated on core consumer prices, not fuel and not food, because those are super volatile. I think the Fed stays its course here and watches those inflation reports and the jobs report at the end of this week.
All right, a lot to watch. Caleb, thanks so much.
And new this morning, NBC News has learned exclusively that the Chinese spy balloon that flew across the U.S. back in February was able to gather intelligence from several military sites. This latest reporting is based on new information from 2 current senior U.S. officials and 1 former senior administration official. For more, we're joined by NBC News global security reporter Dan DeLuce. Dan, good morning. So clearly a major development. What do we know about this finding?
Sinclair, really interesting reporting here from our colleagues Courtney Kuby and Carol Lee saying that that balloon that flew over the U.S. was able to collect some intelligence, and it was often able to pass multiple times over some military bases, and they were picking up electronic signals and sending them back to China. So that would be possibly eavesdropping on conversations or picking up on electronic signals from weapon systems. Now, the Biden administration has previously maintained that there was very limited value in terms of what these balloons could pick up. And they said that really most of what the Chinese can pick up and glean from their intelligence is coming from their satellites in space. But this is a new twist in the story about exactly what that balloon was able to do.
And Dan, the Biden administration was criticized for not acting faster. What's the response been from the Defense Department to this new revelation?
Well, there's still questions now about how that whole balloon flight was handled. And at a recent congressional hearing, the head of Northern Command, General Glenn Van Urk, said that his military advice was not sought out for 5 days after the U.S. intelligence community alerted officials to this balloon. Now, the Pentagon is saying they were in frequent communication with all the top generals, but Republican lawmakers are seizing on this and saying that there's a discrepancy here, an inconsistency that needs to be clarified.
And Dan, the balloon incident derailed plans for a trip to China by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Are there signs that visit will be rescheduled anytime soon? Briefly here.
That's really the big fallout from this, is that was a major trip planned by the Secretary of State to try to lower the temperature at least somewhat with China. There is no plan now. There's no trip rescheduled yet. A top U.S. diplomat was in China recently, Rick Waters, clearly trying to probably lay the groundwork. But, you know, the Taiwanese president was just here in Washington. That didn't go over well in China. There's still a lot of tension. So there is still no firm plan for that visit by the Secretary of State to be rescheduled.
A lot to watch out of Washington. Dan DeLuce, thank you so much. And coming up, the latest on the growing calls for the release of an American journalist arrested in Russia. What we're learning about a call between the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, and his Russian counterpart in just a few minutes.
And coming up a bit later this hour, the end of the blue check. Maybe. We have the latest on the confusing new changes coming to Twitter and what it could mean for your timeline. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back now with the latest on Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. Gershkovich was detained last week in Russia on espionage charges, allegations the paper strongly denying.
Yesterday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke on the phone with his Russian counterpart and called for the release of the U.S. citizen. NBC News foreign correspondent Josh Letterman joins us now for more on this. Josh, first off, what are both sides saying about the conversation and what's going to happen to this journalist?
Well, this was the first known conversation between the top U.S. and Russian diplomats since the beginning of last month when they met briefly on the sidelines of a global summit. And according to the State Department, Secretary Blinken used this conversation to express a grave U.S. concern about the detention of Evan Gershkovich and to, of course, demand his immediate release. The U.S. has been disputing the notion that he was somehow conducting espionage in Russia. But the Russians, for their part, have confirmed this phone call, and they say that Foreign Minister Lavrov of Russia used that call to insist that the U.S. needs to respect Russia's own law enforcement process, to say that Evan Gershkovich was caught red-handed, in the words of the Foreign Ministry. So no signs that they really worked anything out in that phone call. And in the meantime, the journalist is expected to remain in detention for at least the next 2 months until his next court date at the end of May.
And Josh, are we hearing anything more from the Wall Street Journal about this arrest?
Yeah, we heard from the Wall Street Journal in a news statement over the weekend, once again demanding his immediate release, saying that no journalist should be arrested for doing their job. But we also heard the editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal on television over the weekend responding to the detention of their journalist in Russia. Take a listen.
We haven't been able to get any messages to him. We haven't heard anything from him. There's been very little official information. We are hopeful that a lawyer will get to see him next week. We're pressing constantly for reassurance that he's not being mistreated in any way. But we're dealing with the Russian authorities here. It's difficult to know what will happen next.
Now, in the meantime, the Wall Street Journal is encouraging anybody who wants to tweet or post on social media with the hashtag #IStandWithEvan. And they have also removed the paywall for any of Evan's previous stories, as well as for any of the coverage about his detention.
Definitely a case we're watching closely. Josh, thank you so much.
All right, more international headlines now. And incredibly, just one day after leaving the hospital, the Pope was back in St. Peter's Square to mark the beginning of Holy Week.
That's right. Claudio Lavanga joins us now from Rome with that and more. Good morning, Claudio.
Good morning. Yes, Pope Francis presided over Palm Sunday Mass, even though he's still trying to recover from a bad bronchitis. Now, at the end of the homily, he thanked the many people around the world who prayed for him while he was in hospital last week. But even though he sounded very weak in his voice and he looked frail, he promised to preside over the rest of the events scheduled for Holy Week, including Holy Thursday, the Way of the Cross on Friday, and of course Easter on Sunday. Now let's go to Mexico, where a hot balloon caught fire, killing 2 people and injuring a girl who were on it. A video posted on social media shows the occupants of the balloon either falling or jumping from it after it caught fire. A 50-year-old man and a 30-year-old woman died, while a girl suffered burns and a broken arm. Officials say the cause of the accident was under investigation. Now moving on to Finland, where a right-wing coalition party won the country's parliamentary election. Finland's left-wing Prime Minister Sanna Marin conceded defeat on Sunday night, while the leader of the winning coalition, Petteri Orpo, promised to, quote, fix Finland and its economy. The new government will be sworn in just as the Nordic country is expected to officially join NATO, guys.
All right, a lot of developments. Claudio, thank you.
And coming up, regaining their senses. People with long COVID now able to taste and smell again after trials of a new treatment. More on the procedure the doctors say shows a lot of promise.
Plus, turbulence ahead. Why the FAA wants airlines to cut down their summer flight schedules. That's next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. As we know by now, positive COVID tests often come with symptoms like loss of taste and smell. Well, while some fully recover, others are carrying these lasting effects long after those tests come back negative. NBC News correspondent Kristen Dahlgren has more on what could be a glimmer of hope for these patients.
Jennifer Henderson wouldn't normally cry over a cup of coffee.
I can smell it. Is it strong? Yeah.
But she hadn't smelled one in nearly 2 years.
It smells like
After a COVID infection in January 2021, Jennifer Henderson never got her smell or taste back.
You couldn't smell or taste anything. Nothing. And then after about a year, it wasn't that I couldn't smell or taste anything. Now the taste was off. It was terrible.
Food she once loved tasted disgusting.
Chicken. I couldn't eat chicken.
What did it taste like?
It tasted like rotten flesh.
Jennifer grew depressed. Meals were unbearable.
It's hard to get through each day.
And then a Facebook group with nearly 50,000 people with similar complaints led her to Dr. Christine Shin at the Cleveland Clinic.
It was incredible that something simple as the stellate ganglion block could produce this type of result.
The stellate ganglion is a nerve bundle in the neck. Numbing it has been used for a century to help regulate some pain and circulation. So doctors tried the procedure on long COVID patients.
We have seen quite a good response, but there are also patients who don't respond. And we're still in that phase where we're trying to figure out who it's going to help.
Doctors still don't know exactly why it works to restore taste and smell, but Shin estimates it helps about 50% of patients. Shin plans to start the first clinical trials for its use in treating long COVID soon, but in the meantime is offering the procedure to patients like Jennifer, now getting her third round, a quick injection into her neck. Within minutes, Jennifer tries something she hasn't tasted in years, watermelon.
You can taste it. Oh, wow.
Dr. Shin says some patients see instant relief. Others get senses back over time, and some nothing at all. It's unclear if improvements are permanent, and insurance coverage also varies by plan.
Oh, God.
But for Jennifer,
You're my hero.
the results couldn't be sweeter. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, Cleveland.
Literally, the last time I tried this, it tasted like garbage. Trash.
Spring is in the air, which means summer is just around the corner. And if you're ready to up your travel miles and hit the skies, you better act fast. The FAA is warning airlines to cut down on flights after predicting major cancellations and delays. NBC News correspondent George Solis has the details.
Travelers this summer could be in for a bumpy ride.
I think it's going to be a troublesome summer.
In a letter to airlines, the Federal Aviation Administration, citing a severe lack of air traffic controllers, could cause serious delays and cancellations. The agency predicting delays to skyrocket, up an estimated 45% in New York City alone.
Our goal is to make sure that we're proactive and where we can be, to be as predictive as we can be to make sure that our demand matches up.
Impacted airports include New York's JFK, LaGuardia and Newark, and D.C.'s Reagan National. Last year, New York area airports saw around 41,000 flight delays, according to the FAA. The agency is now pleading with airlines to cut back on service, asking for an up to 10% reduction in flights for this summer season.
The likelihood of ground delays will decrease, and that will help them maintain their schedules, and that airplanes that fly around the country throughout the day, they will be on time more often.
To avoid traffic jams as travel returns to pre-pandemic levels and the summer surge commences. Both United and Delta Airlines considering the offer. So is NYC-based JetBlue, its CEO telling CNBC, "We don't want to pull down flights, but if we don't cut them, the system is not going to be workable this summer. Experts say, act now."
So for those folks who have not yet booked their summer travel plans, do so immediately.
And be flexible with your summer plans.
So rather than setting your heart on New York City, maybe this is a sort of the universe telling you, could be a good summer to go visit Chicago, could be a good summer to go visit the Rockies.
All in the hopes that smoother travel is just on the horizon. George Solis, NBC News, New York.
All right, coming up, ruffled feathers as Twitter begins removing those coveted blue legacy check marks. More on the controversial moves and why some warn it could cause some major problems.
And it's the photo that fooled the internet. Why this AI-generated image of the Pope is raising concerns about online authenticity. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back now with some big changes for the Bluebird. Of course, I'm talking about Twitter. The company announced over the weekend it was removing the so-called blue check marks.
Yeah, these marks are given to users who have paid a monthly fee, but some argue it will lead to confusion over which accounts are authentic. In fact, it already has led to confusion there. Callan Rosenblatt covers youth and internet culture for NBC News. She joins us now with more on this. Good morning, Callan. So many people talking about this on Twitter. So first, let's start with who's affected by this. So not everyone's going to be required to pay for verification. So who's going to be able to keep those free blue check marks?
Well, Stephen Zinkley, as you may have noticed, we've all kept our blue check marks. However, the people who are intended to keep their blue check marks are those who have paid for Twitter Blue. Now, there are going to be some exceptions, those who have not paid for Twitter Blue, who are organizations who are among the 10,000 most popular Twitter users, and Twitter's 500 most popular subscribers are going to be exempt from having to pay for Twitter Blue. But as we've seen over the weekend, everyone ended up keeping their verified blue check marks. And that's because, according to the Washington Post, the system to remove the blue check marks is manual. And it is a system that is prone to breaking. So we may see these blue check marks hang out for a little bit longer. But as I mentioned, it is only Twitter Blue verified subscribers who are supposed to be keeping them from now on.
And Callan, some are predicting that the sudden loss of verified accounts will actually cause another meltdown on the platform, maybe misinformation. People don't know who's real and who's not. So what have we seen so far?
So, I believe it was yesterday that we began to see if you clicked on a verified blue check mark, instead of telling you whether it was a legacy blue check mark or whether it was someone who would pay to Twitter Blue, we ended up seeing was a change in that language that says it's either a legacy or it's subscribed to Twitter Blue. Now, the issue there is that, anyone could be, it could not be the official account. So we could be seeing impersonators now, and you won't be able to tell whether it's legacy or someone who subscribed and bought that blue check mark. Because of that, we've already seen impersonators once again kicking up on the website. We saw that once Twitter Blue first launched. We're seeing it again now, as many predicted. So a little bit of pandemonium on the website as intended, or as expected, rather.
All right. Well, it continues to have a little bit of pandemonium there all the time, Callan. So some big accounts, namely the New York Times, lost its blue check mark. That seemed to be an issue with Elon Musk because the New York Times said they weren't going to pay. So there it is without the blue check mark. But even before that, accounts like NBC News got yellow check marks. There hasn't been a ton of explanation about it. What's the difference between these colors, and what's the overall reaction from verified users?
So yellow check marks or gold check marks are for organizations. There's also silver check marks that are for politicians or public figures. So there's a sort of a myriad of different check marks now that you kind of have to keep up with. But again, the blue check mark has always been the sort of traditional check mark on the site denoting who is, a public figure or a person to follow. And now we're all going to have to be really careful about who we're looking at.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? All right, something to watch. Callan Rosenblatt, thanks so much.
Thank you. And now the Pope has been in the headlines for many reasons the last week, including this. Have you seen this image of the Pope in a puffy white jacket? It may surprise you to know it's not real. It's fake.
It's fake, but it's very stylish. The now viral image was created using some sophisticated artificial intelligence. And as AI advances, it may be harder and harder to spot real photos compared to the fake ones.
So to help us figure this out, James Vincent joins us. He's a senior reporter at The Verge and has written about how images created by AI go viral. Thank you so much for being with us, James. So first, on a very basic level, how do you explain how artificial intelligence creates these images? And what is the difference between an image created by AI and one that is photoshopped?
So these images are created using programs that are trained on a lot of images, and they look for patterns in them, and then they learn to recreate those patterns. But from a user's point of view, it's very different using one of these compared to using Photoshop. You are literally just typing text into a box to describe what you want to see. In this case, you might type something like the Pope wearing a puffy white jacket, Balenciaga, model, stylish. You give it these adjectives and clues, and it creates an image from that. Because of that, it really lowers the barriers of skill necessary to create fake images. And this is why many people are worried that this software is going to lead to an explosion of fake images spreading across the internet.
And people have been talking about deep fakes and artificial intelligence images for years now, but we're still very quick to believe these images. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there is just this assumption that is goes much deeper than the recent history of AI. You know, we have grown up in an age where photography has been strongly associated with authenticity, with what is real. You know, seeing is believing. This is something that is ingrained into our culture in many ways. And if you look at the long historical timescale, it's sort of a bit of a blip. You know, photographs have not really been around that long compared to the entire history of human civilization. So now what we need to do is to sort of retrain our senses. You know, when we see a random tweet or a random bit of text claiming some bit of outrageous news on Twitter or Facebook, we don't immediately believe it. We now need to have that same sort of assumption of skepticism when it comes to images, or we will do in the future anyway.
So, James, let's talk about that retraining you referenced. I know in your article you talk about that image of the Pope wearing the white puffy jacket, and you went through a step-by-step guide on some of the ways to tell it was fake. Can you go over those now with us so that we can be more informed, and so can the audience?
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, I think there are lots of tells with these systems. One is they sort of blur or smear details. Now, it's hard to see if you're just scrolling through a picture on your Twitter feed, but yes, if you take these close-ups from the Pope image, you can see that the hand is sort of holding a coffee cup, but it's not really a coffee cup. There's the crucifix around the neck, but the edges are not completely, you know, they're not right angles. And where there should be a Pope, it looks like an image of the Pope made in clay and then that's been sat on. You know, so there are all these details that get blurred out of the final image, but it takes a little bit of attention in order to spot these. I think the sort of the bigger tell is that these are systems that create surface images. They're creating 2D images. So they don't really know how the world fits together. So you're looking for things that sort of just look a little bit smeared or off, basically.
A lot to watch, literally. James, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now to our financial headlines. McDonald's is asking its U.S. office employees to work from home as it prepares for more layoffs this week.
Yeah, CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other money news. Good morning, Silvana.
Stephen Zinkley, good morning. That's right. So McDonald's is temporarily closing its U.S. offices this week as it prepares layoff notices as part of a broader restructuring. The Wall Street Journal reports it's unclear how many people will be laid off. Now, in January, the fast food giant said it would review corporate staff levels as part of a new business strategy, which could lead to some layoffs in areas and then expansion in others. UBS may cut up to 30% of its workforce in the wake of its takeover of rival Credit Suisse. Reports say that's as many as 36,000 jobs, significantly more than originally planned. Up to 11,000 layoffs would be in Switzerland, and UBS agreed to buy Credit Suisse last month for roughly $3 billion at the request of the Swiss government after a wave of withdrawals threatened the bank's stability following the collapse of SVB and Signature Bank. More than half of adults in the workforce say they're likely to look for a new job over the next year. A new report from Bankrate says the job hunt will be led by younger generations, lower earners, and minority workers. Nearly all of Gen Z and 80% of millennials are likely to look for a new job, ask for a raise or more work flexibility, quit, or even relocate for a job. Bankrate says the future path of the economy will help dictate how many people will look for a change or stay put.
Fascinating.
Interesting. I'm going to say right here.
Likewise. We'll be here. You'll catch us here all week.
Right.
Silvana, Thank you so much.
You got it.
And coming up, they're the new queens of college hoops. This morning, the LSU Lady Tigers are celebrating the team's first ever NCAA title win.
When we come back, we'll relive the madness from yesterday's big game, plus the controversy involving two star players. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. In case you missed it, this weekend was April Fool's, and concert goers in North Carolina fell for quite the prank. People in the Dreamville Festival in Raleigh, North Carolina had no idea they were being pranked. The R&B singer Usher performed at that festival and told fans one of the biggest superstars in history, yes, we're talking about Beyonce, was going to perform as his special guest. Well, you see where this is going. After a few moments and a lot of cheering, people were searching backstage. Usher walked back to the mic to say, April Fools. Ouch. Well, of course, the Beehive fans at the concert were massively disappointed with that joke. Usher definitely had a laugh himself for April Fools.
I would not have been laughing.
No,
Usher.
that's so disappointing.
His song says yeah, and I say no. I say no.
Lots of people were saying no. Well, now to this. After several weeks of intense action and numerous upsets, we're in the final stretch of March Madness with the men's championship game taking place tonight in Houston.
That's right. And on the women's side, over the weekend, the LSU Tigers captured their first national title, knocking off the University of Iowa. So here to break it down with us is NBC News sports host and reporter Corey Robinson on set to fill us in on the action. Corey, good morning. Okay, I'm no sports broadcaster, but I will attempt to walk us through the stats, which is it was a thrilling game in Dallas yesterday. LSU won 102-85, but there was an interaction between two star players that caught a lot of people's attention. So first, let's take a look.
Yeah. All year, I was critiqued about who I was. Nobody, the narrative, I don't fit the narrative. I don't fit in the box that y'all want me to be in. I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto. Y'all told me that all year. But when other people do it, y'all don't say nothing. So this was for the girls that look like me.
So that was Angel Reese speaking about a can't see me hand gesture that was made and clearly sparked a lot of controversy. It's worth noting that the other player, Caitlin Clark, also made that hand gesture. So can you talk to us about what the response has been?
Yeah, so it's been pretty interesting to see how Reese has been vilified, is the word that I keep seeing on social media, for doing the John Cena "you can't see me" hand gesture. So Caitlin Clark did it on the Elite Eight after hitting a 3, and then John Cena actually tweeted at her and said they can't see you, and even if they could see you, they couldn't guard you, which is kind of like a cool little thing, you know. And he continued to support her when they got into the Final Four. But when Angel Reese did it towards the end, they were already up, double digits. They had the national championship in the bag, and then she pointed and did what's on the screen, pointing at her ring finger. We're going to win the national championship, and then taunted Caitlin Clark. But I think the biggest thing here is just give them grace. They're 18 to 22-year-olds in college, and they're competitive. It's just, don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, sportsmanship, a complicated thing.
Yeah. But there has been quite the outcry because no one cared when Caitlin Clark did it.
Interesting. Well, turning now to the men's side, the Final Four taking place on Saturday. San Diego State knocking off Florida Atlantic at the buzzer. Walk us through that game.
Wow. I mean, it's just crazy because FAU, they thought they were going to come out with it, and then to think that Butler would be able to get that shot off. I mean, incredible defense. To be able to have that shot at that moment, it almost seems like San Diego State is willing themselves into this destiny moment. But I will say UConn has been dominant all tournament long. I think they're going to be dominant again in the national championship. And you think about, since 1999, UConn has a chance to win 5 titles. Oh. And you think men's basketball, dominant programs in the past 20-something years, I don't think any of us think, oh, UConn is number 1. You think of other programs, Kansas, North Carolina, Gonzaga, Villanova. You don't necessarily think UConn, but it's truth. They'd be the first program to do that.
I mean, you're talking about UConn. We're talking about San Diego. Who are you watching for tonight's matchup?
That's a great question. For me, I'm more interested in just watching. Actually, that's a good question. I think Butler would be interesting because he's been a very big focal point for San Diego State. But for me, it's more of a team effort from UConn. It's just like, how do you stop? They have too many weapons. So that's kind of I don't know how you're going to stop the matchup there. It's like not just one matchup. It's like 4 guards they have. So
yeah, a lot of star players.
Yeah.
All right, go back to the LSU women. Kim Mulkey, known for her, I guess, colorful attire on the sidelines. It's the first women's college basketball coach to lead 2 different teams to a national title. What's her legacy here?
I mean, she's a Hall of Famer. She's actually a Hall of Famer. So this is amazing because she did it at home. She came back home, and then she won in Texas, where she had so much success with Baylor, right? The games were in Texas. But she's kind of separated herself because in women's basketball, you think of Gino Auriemma, you think of Pat Summitt, legendary coaches, right? And you think, well, what kind of separated them? In addition to dominance, they had a lot of back-to-back titles. But Kim Mulkey, to do that, to be able to win in 2 different places and give LSU their first national championship, it's just remarkable. She's one of one.
Ooh, well, the brackets may be busted, but we're still watching the game. Corey, thank you for the analysis.
Well, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.